So last week we had this CPI data that came out. It's the Consumer Price Index, which is the cost of goods that are sold, and it came in a little higher than expected. The target for January was 2.9%, came in at 3.1%. They saw a 0.3% increase for the month of January, which is a little higher than where some of the projections were, and that caused rates to jump up a little bit. Although I was seeing like 6 5/8, 6 7/8 today, so not horrible. I guess the question here is, do you see this as a precursor for rates going back into the sevens, Sarah and Stacey? What do you think here? What are you reading in the market? Tell us more.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I mean, I think they're going to be sticking right around the upper sixes to the low sevens for, the advertised rate. And then what an individual actually is able to lock in is going to be sometimes different than, could go in either direction. But I would not be surprised if, you saw some going in the low sevens.
Yeah, I think that's where some are at the moment. But I know the inflation is not doing what the inflation rate's not doing what the Feds want. Mm-hmm. So them saying that, they weren't going to be changing the rates, where most people were looking forward to having some rate reductions this year. I don't think that's going to happen. I honestly don't. The core inflation rate, it went up, and also the producer price index went up a little bit too. So that was not what they anticipated.
The producer price index is what the Fed uses, by the way. The CPI is a measurement, and it's a data point, but the Fed doesn't necessarily use that. That's a great point, Stacey.
So it's not doing what they anticipated. So
who's they?
The Feds.
Okay, just to be sure.
Yeah, the Feds really want that 2% inflation rate, and it's just not getting there. So all this affects the mortgage interest rates for sure. We were really heading in the right direction, and it really created this hot market in the past couple of months. Mm-hmm. I don't think people realized in the past week that the rates have ticked up yet. Because it's still on fire in our area as far as the housing market. But once people start to see that they might be looking at the sevens or mid sevens, things could cool down a little bit too. So, the Feds are just really, they want to control this inflation. The jobs market is incredible. But there's, we talk about that too, Tom. Like, what is the sampling of that? 60,000?
Yeah.
Right? So I don't think it's really representation about what's really, truly going on out there.
Yeah. Well, now, so if people are starting to talk about it going up into the sevens, do you think for where they are right now, that would cause buyers to say, whoa, or kind of put on the gas for like maybe just the next couple of days here to be like, let me try and lock in before they go up?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for the most part, out in the field, with the people that I'm dealing with now, they're on tight time constraints with leases ending.
Yeah.
So they want to buy, and I think that they will still try to.
Yeah.
Although it's going to affect their purchasing power for sure.
So it's very interesting here because last week on the Knowledge Brokers podcast, Logan Motoshami was on. I missed it. I was like dead and very sick. Missed the podcast. And he said something on there that I think is really important here. That do you ever have people ask you, like, Sarah, should I buy a home right now? Do you ever get this question from consumers? Or Stacey, do you get this question? Should I buy a home?
Yeah.
You know what the answer to that is? You're not ready. Because if you're asking someone like, hey, should I do this? Like when people are ready, they don't. Right. There is no hesitation in let's write the offer. Let's move ahead. Let's get it on the market. But when people aren't, they're just not ready. You can't coach readiness. And I think that's going to be the overarching theme this year is that, and it might be dangerous. I know a lot of people were saying, oh, this is the year of 5. We're going to see 5% rates. And we've talked about you got to be kind of careful with making these predictions because there's a lot of models involved here. But if people are asking, like, should I, they're not ready. And we know that, last year there was, 4 million people that bought homes, right? They all bought, in one of the toughest markets that we've seen for buyers in quite some time, they bought homes. They were ready. They didn't let anything stop them. Think of some of the clients you had where it's like one loss after another, and it's like you get punched in the face and then kicked in the back, and then all of a sudden they're buying a house. readiness is going to be the ultimate thing that drives the market this year. And there's plenty of demand. I mean, it's not a bad move buying a home. The balance sheet for homeowners is significantly better than people that rent the rest of their life. But some people are okay with that. They don't want to deal with the maintenance. And the folks that want to man up and actually buy a property, they're going to do it this year, despite everything that's going on. But I do agree, Stace, and I think we're going to see rates stay in this like 6 range for longer than people expected. And remember, this happened last year. January rates were at like 5.99. There was like a pop in the market. Then they went up substantially. I don't think we're going to see that this year. I think it's going to be very stable. Like, hey, we're in the mid 6s. I mean, that's kind of where they're sitting, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. It might be that way the next 12 months, for all we know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for a couple of clients, we refocused on monthly payment.
It's always about the payment.
Yeah,
and I had to bring out the old. What is your interest rate on your car loan? What is the interest rate on the credit cards that you use? Because people have no idea about those interest rates, but for some reason they're so hyper-focused on their mortgage interest rate.
Right.
So that to me is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing about that is that I don't know if you knew this about Logan Motoshami. This is why I was so bummed I wasn't on that podcast, is that he was a loan officer up until about 2020. So he's got a very interesting perspective. He never talked rates with people. He said, here's your payment. Here's your payment. Because that's really what people are doing. Unless you like walk around and you got like a 3% on your shirt, Stacy's got a 2.75. It's like, who cares? It's what is it going to cost me? He had something very brilliant that he said. I wrote this down when I re-listened to the pod, is that housing is the cost of shelter to your own capacity to own the debt. So think about it. This is really brilliant. It takes a couple seconds to go over this, but housing it's the cost of shelter that you can handle, like your capacity to own the debt, because that's really what you own. You own a loan, and that's why some people have been able to buy bigger homes, because their capacity to own their debt is higher at lower rates. But housing is really the cost of shelter to your own capacity to own the debt, a.k.a. it's your payment. Can you handle the payment?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because before you bought a home, what did you have? You had a rental payment. Right? I mean, that's where it is. And because of household formation and a lot of other things that happened, I mean, we saw people form households a lot later. That's why we had such a slow recovery after the 2008 to 2012 sort of tough time in the market, which was very challenging for a lot of folks. It came back slower because apartments aren't suited for families, right? Mm-hmm. So like you just moved, right? You got a new daughter, right? Like it's this cycle, and that's why when the people ask, like, should I buy a home? The people that are ready are the ones that like, all right, I got these kids. They're not getting any smaller. I'm out of here.
Right.
We got to get into something else. Mm-hmm. And that's why you see people move to more affordable areas. They move within the school district that they can afford it. There's a lot of variables there. So you're going to see more and more of that. And to your point, Stacey, it's all about that monthly payment. If you're not explaining that payment, and here's the payment, here's what it's going to cost, that's where you're going to get stuck running around with people as an agent that maybe aren't that motivated. The motivation's not even there in the first place.
Mm-hmm. And that's key.
Yeah.
So you're thinking rates stay here. Sarah, you're kind of in the same boat. Tell us your predictions here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we're going to be like staying roughly around, the last, month and a half. We've seen them just kind of like do. Like there was that little bit of we saw them dip down into the lower 6s for a bit and then kind of peak back up. And I feel like they've just been doing this little dance right around there. I wouldn't be surprised if that dance took them over 7 for a sec. Mm-hmm. But then I think overall we're going to be in that like mid to upper 6s with maybe, some quick little bleeps into the 7s.
I think it's going to be once you get under contract, where the rates are going to be at that time. I mean, sometimes it's a risk waiting for, trying to time it out. Yeah. But that's a conversation with your loan officer to see what they are speculating.
Right.
But sometimes, maybe you'll be able to lock in less than 7, but maybe it won't be. Maybe it'll be a little over.
Right.
Well, that's where it's important to pay attention to things and actually get ahead of this here, because I see so many people, they have like a late payment on their credit, or like something like a silly debt. Like there's I had a parking ticket I forgot to pay, and then all of a sudden it's like on their credit report, right? And if you're not pre-planning your move and getting ahead of this stuff so you're ready, like this is the stuff you want to clean up before you find the house. Mm-hmm. Making sure you got the cash set aside. They can source all the deposits, especially if you're like 1099. There's so many different things to prepare for. So as rates kind of settle into where they are, you want to just be more ready than ever. And, it looks like, I mean, especially with what the Fed has done, I mean, they thought that the economy wasn't going to grow. they thought that the jobs market was going to fail, and they put all this intense pressure on short-term rates. Well, guess what happened? The economy did grow, and the jobs stayed the same, and it's like, now what? Like, I mean, and I don't understand what they're worried about here. Like, if they get to a point where, and we'll see at the upcoming meetings, but if rates are between 5 and 6%, like 6%, going to be happy? Like, I mean, I don't understand what they're fighting against, and it seems that they're just not realistic about housing right now, which is causing this. Because if you look at these spreads, I mean, we're seeing all-time high spreads on the 10-year versus where the rates are coming in. If you look at this article on Housing Wire, the 10-year yield range translates to mortgage rates between 5.75 and 7.25%. We're on the higher end. So, but that assumes bad spreads. Because the spreads have improved this year, it doesn't look like we're going to stick at those like low 7 numbers. But that's, again, something people thought that the Fed was going to adjust to, and then it didn't happen. So it's very confusing with their current policy right now.
Yeah.
That's why when clients ask us questions, we have to be, we have to know, and we have to provide the correct information to them, or lead them in the right direction to get answers. So, that's being the knowledge broker and being able to, help our clients through the process. It's a confusing process anyway, and then you add these types of things on top of it.
Right.
You just watch people's heads, spin around.
Right.
So let's kind of shift gears here and talk about inventory, because that's been the other pain point. So what we've seen happen nationally last week is that we saw listings were basically flat nationally. From February 9th to the 16th, we saw inventory fall maybe 700 homes, not even that. And it looks like we're probably at that bottom point where we're going to see inventory start to grow consistently throughout the rest of the year. Are you seeing that now? Because I'm seeing that there's definitely opportunity for the buyers that are manned up and are ready to go out there, or womaned up, whatever you want to call it, that are ready to go buy something. Do you feel like those people are like? I mean, are you seeing that inventory growth? Because I'm really optimistic about the choices in the market right now, probably more so than I have been in quite some time.
I see that inventory is increasing. There's things that are coming up more, but also I see so much competition. So the buyers have woken up, and it really kind of, to me, is a net negative.
Right.
Because yes, there's inventory increasing, but almost every house that comes on, I mean, there was some, it's not every, but there's the majority of houses that come on, if they're in relatively good condition, there's multiple offers.
Right.
Just case study, I wrote so many offers the past 2 weeks for 8 different clients.
How many did you write, and how many got accepted?
So last weekend I wrote 5 for 5 different people.
Okay.
Wow.
1 got accepted.
Okay.
The others were blowouts, like 17, 12, 9 offers.
Yeah.
This weekend I wrote 4 for 3 different clients, and I got 1 accepted.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's a slugfest out there. We missed an offer opportunity today. I was waiting. My client was ill-prepared. We talked about getting her finances ready a month ago. Mm-hmm. And, she was in the process of doing that. And for whatever reason, she didn't follow through, but it was started. And her dream house came on the market, and it's already under contract, and she's still trying to scramble to get things ready. So it's a lesson learned. Unfortunately, it's very disappointing, but she'll be in the right position next time that the house comes on the market.
Right. Yeah. I would agree. There is, I like to kind of keep my eye on the coming soons. Mm-hmm. And then it depends, like, client to client, what you're looking for, and then obviously for if there is like stuff that is stuck around a little bit longer, if you're kind of looking for more of an opportunity. But keeping you're looking ahead towards what's coming up, because if it, exactly like you said, if it is a, pretty turnkey or like move-in ready or doesn't need a lot of work, mm-hmm. and it's priced appropriately, like you see those showing time slots getting booked up, you get out there to the showing. And especially now that, like, for the most part, overlapping showings are kind of a fairly common thing again. Mm-hmm. There's other people in there at the same time. There's cars pulling up, leaving, just during the little window that you're there. So, it's competitive.
Yeah, it's very competitive.
So we know it's going to be competitive for some of these homes. I don't think there's any question there. How are you prepping your clients? I mean, you like we were on the role play today, Sarah. I thought you had some great questions you were asking. I mean, what do you, and like this woman, right? So how long have you been working with this person that wasn't prepared? I think that's probably a great.
I would say probably about 3 months.
3 months? Okay.
Yeah.
So what got in the way of her preparing?
That's a good question because we met, and when we met, we went through the whole buyer consult, and she, I explained to her how important it is that, because she thought the house that we met at was the one, and she was so not prepared.
Yeah.
She already has a home. It doesn't have any, it's paid free and clear. So we talked about how she could utilize that to her advantage to get into her next home. But these are the steps that she has to take. And we talked about that in great length. I, followed up with her. Have you started the process? Yes, I started the process. Checked in with her periodically here and there. How's things coming? Well, they say that, they're working on it. Okay. Out of the blue, then she texted me on, I guess it was Friday. I want to see this house. It's great. It's our perfect home. Yep. We took a look at it, and it is her perfect home. And guess what? She hasn't heard, and Monday was a holiday.
Yep.
So guess what's closed?
Yeah.
Banks.
Yeah.
So she couldn't even follow up with them on Monday. So
Yeah.
it was really, yeah. And so she followed up with them today, and they still had no answers for her. So I referred her to other people to help her along.
Yeah.
And she's gotten more answers in the past couple of hours working with somebody else than working with her bank where her money resides.
Right.
So
Oh
it's
my
shocking
gosh.
to me. Isn't that frustrating?
Yeah.
Well, it shows the difference between a bank and a lender.
Yeah.
First off, I mean that's it's unfortunate, but I hear your point.
Yeah. So I mean, you can tell people till you're blue in the face how important it is, how imperative it is. Like, kind of like you have to create a sense of urgency because it is.
Right.
And I don't think people fully understand. They think we're hyperventilating, I guess.
Right.
They don't fully understand until they've been through it and the light bulb comes on. Oh, this is what you were talking about.
Well, and
Yes.
I feel like for some reason, like so many people are like, I don't want to do that until I find the house.
Right.
And it's like, no. You need to do this before you find the house. Like,
Right.
this is laying the groundwork, and you need that in place. Like, you cannot buy the house without this. So,
Yes.
like, it doesn't matter if you do this now and you don't find that house for, several months. Like, we can get this updated. That's easy.
Right.
But, like, this is a very important piece that you don't want to be scrambling for because we can't submit the offer without it.
Right. And we have to know how you're going to finance.
Right.
Are you going to go in as cash with proof of funds, showing your stocks and your IRA and these other things? Or do you really want to do the home equity line of credit and have that at the ready so that you can, do the same thing, pay cash? Either way, we got to figure this out.
Right. And when you're already trying to, you're excited about finding the house, you're stressed about writing the offer, you don't want that to be the time that you're then also figuring out how you're going to like finance that. Like, and
Right.
house to house things, you may restructure things a little bit differently, and that's fine. But at that point, you've already got like the basics in line here, and it's just kind of like tweaking so that, each offer works best for you.
Right. And it is unfortunate that sometimes people have to lose that house. They have to find out, and the light bulb has to come on, and then they have a full understanding at that time. But why does it have to get to the point? Just
Right.
just listen to our guidance.
I know.
Yeah.
But we're dealing with humans, so it's tough.
So one thing I want to hit on here is, I want to wait, and this is a great place to end this here. So, Sarah, you said I want to wait until I find the house. So, there's a way to communicate this to people because I would go at them with some data, right? So, think about our role play call, and I don't know if you were on the role play call today. Sarah said something that was like, it made my jaw drop, and I see you all the time. We talk constantly, so it's a real credit to your ability to ask these questions. Hey, do you know when most homes come onto the market? Right? And that's how I would start. Like, instead of saying, you don't want to do this because it's going to put you in a bad spot, blah, blah, blah. It's, hey, so, Stacey, do you know when most homes come on the market?
No, I don't. As a consumer.
Yeah. So, usually they list on Thursday or Friday with showing starting over the weekend. And can I tell you why I want to make sure we're prepped before the weekend?
Sure.
I don't know who your lender is. If you got your own lender, if you're using one of our people, we can get a hold of them. But, there's still time that has to go by. People have other things going on. We can't control when the offer deadlines happen, if there is one. There may not be. Hopefully not. And we got some time. But if there's an offer deadline that's Sunday night or Monday morning and we can't get a hold of somebody and we're not even able to get into the home to see if you like it until Friday or Saturday, do you think you're going to be in a great position? Like, how certain are you're going to be in a good position to be able to get all this done in 24 or 48 hours over the weekend?
I like that. That
right?
is
Like,
perfect.
Because you're what you're doing there is you're asking questions that are going to give them the answer that they should. Just like, what did you say? Like 75% of agents fail in their first year or something when you hire their friend because the friend got licensed. Mm-hmm. This was like, Stacey, you would have been impressed. This was awesome. And the point is that if we're not doing that stuff, then what ends up happening is that you're totally ill-prepared and they're going to miss out. So the whole point of this is that you've got to ask better questions as an agent instead of just talking at people and telling them what's going on. Because when you talk and tell, people don't want to hear it. When you ask questions, they have to get there on their own. So that's going to be something that's probably more important than ever to make sure that, hey, they're actually in a spot where they can go get the house. So I think that's where, this gets a little dangerous, and all the more reason to make sure you're prepped and ready to go here. So as rates do climb higher or they stay the same or whatever else, preparation's going to go a long way here. So make sure you're having those strategy meetings with your agent if you're a client out there, or vice versa for the agents that are listening. So why don't we take a quick break? We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the DOJ decoupling commissions next on Toole Time, or wanting to. Nothing's happened yet. Let me be very clear. Next on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
For the best local mortgage service and great rates on your money, look no further than Mortgage America. We've been operating in the greater Philadelphia area for 40 years with a focus on smooth, easy access to home purchasing. Whether you're a first-time buyer, upsizing or downsizing, or just refinancing, we have programs for you. We also have closing cost assistance programs and access to subsidized interest rates. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. To learn more, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000. We always have a person available to take your call with around-the-clock human service. Purchase your home with the personalized, local service you find at Mortgage America.
Mortgage America is an equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
The Tom Toole Sales Group is the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania with over $165 million in volume for 2021. I'm Tom Toole, and our team has achieved that kind of success by being a great place to work with and to work for. No one knows Greater Philly better than we do. We know real estate, but more importantly, we're real people. We hire the best agents, and we give them all the tools to succeed. Even our brand new agents sell 17 to 24 homes a year because our team delivers the best experience in real estate. Teams deliver a better experience than individuals, and we're a top 1% real estate team in the country. We call it AAA service. We're your advocate, ally, and advisor. Because this isn't a transaction to us. It's a relationship. If you're buying or selling a home, call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX main line at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com. Sell your home for more, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com. Mortgage America is equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX main line.
Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacey Mitchell. She's Sarah Tymon. We've got Nick Wolf behind the camera, and we all work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX main line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we're streaming live every single week. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. If you like what you hear, we're going to be covering the DOJ filing an objection, and we've got DJ Sutera coming in from Mortgage America to talk about the new rate climate. If you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell for notifications, and if you need to talk about your real estate situation with one of these two ladies, schedule a call with a link in the comments. So This to me, this broke Thursday night, this piece of news, and it comes from the Department of Justice, which I am much more worried about than Michael Ketchmark and these commission lawsuits, because the DOJ actually has the ability to enforce change here pretty quickly. This is not one of these things where it takes a while and has to go through appeals. So Thursday evening, the DOJ filed a statement of interest about a proposed settlement for a lawsuit in Massachusetts. It's the MLS PIN lawsuit, which is a broker-owned MLS, and that came weeks after the plaintiffs filed a motion to administratively stay the lawsuit. There was a settlement reached, and now the DOJ has come in and said, "Hey, we object," right? And the proposal, they've basically come out and said in no uncertain terms, and I'm just going to read this to you here. The DOJ offered a proposal to include in the settlement, including an injunction that would prohibit sellers from making commission offers to buyer brokers at all. What do you two think about this? Strong language.
Yeah.
At all, even if you write it into an offer? Like
Sellers could not provide it is what's being said.
So they couldn't advertise it, but a buyer could ask for it? Or no?
No, they can't offer it out.
They cannot offer it out.
Wow. So even if you wrote it into an offer, they couldn't offer it out.
Wow.
Well, this is wow. For buyers, this is going to be an eye opener to them. Most buyers can barely get into the homes.
Mm-hmm.
They're just saving enough for closing costs,
Right.
which everybody knows that closing costs can be quite expensive depending on title insurance, prorated taxes.
Transfer tax.
The state transfer tax. You can't get away from that. I mean, there's a lot of fees. There's, lender fees involved.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So they barely can scrape together to get into homes. And then, there's that other aspect of it.
Right.
So it's going to be very, very difficult. I don't know what would happen to VA loans and veterans.
Right.
It's not even discussed.
Right, because that's a whole segment of population that qualify and are entitled to these 0% down.
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked with numerous veterans.
Yeah.
We have just enough money for closing costs, and that's it.
Yeah.
And in this market, it's going to be extremely difficult to ask for any type of assist if there's multiple offer situations. It's just very, very difficult. And so I don't know how. I mean, this is going to really just negatively affect buyers. It's going to make the housing, everybody complains about housing being unaffordable now.
Right.
A lot of buyers are going to be out.
Right. No, it's frustrating that that they would come out with that, and that the language is so strong, because it's one thing when it's like, you don't have to offer it. Like, okay.
Right. Or it can be written into, like buyers, it can be written into the offer.
Right.
But when you say it just can't be offered out, just point blank, end of discussion.
Right.
Yeah, that's that doesn't leave any room for negotiations, really.
Right.
I know that the before this became customary, where the seller pays on behalf of the buyer's representation, it was like this. But I think there was ways around it. I think you could ask for. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but you could ask you could write it into a contract, right, where the seller would provide the compensation.
I mean, you can negotiate that. They just said what they're saying here, and this isn't anything finalized, by the way. I've got a lot of stuff I'm going to go over with you in a second here, but it's basically they're coming out and saying, hey, you can't offer it out. Now, this is just their objection. There's nothing that's been passed. This is an illegal mechanism. This is just an objection to this particular suit that has been filed.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, yeah, I'll just go back. It's just gonna be a major shift for potential buyers.
Yeah.
Coming into the market. And if you've already been in the market, if you're a buyer that's already been in the market, and then this shift comes in, it upends your whole thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. Because if you were entering in and knew nothing different, then you would be able to set the stage of this is how it goes. But for the individuals who were, had one way that they knew, and then the change happens while they're still, in the search, that's going to be a whole nother hurdle.
I mean, real estate transactions are confusing and they can go sideways. There's a lot of negotiations. There's a lot of things that people think they know, but they really don't. And the contracts and the standard documents can be daunting. So you have to have, I mean, it's best to have representation. Some people could probably do it on their own and be fine.
Yeah.
But the majority of people have never seen these contracts before, ever.
Right.
And you're going to ask them to go through, look at these contracts and potentially represent themselves. Or, you're going to have representation, whether it be an agent,
or
whether it be an attorney. If it's an attorney, they work 9 to 5 for the most part. So your offer is not going to go, you know what I mean? I mean, right. It's endless. Let the mind go for what can happen here.
Yeah.
So here's kind of the reaction from some of these things. So I got this internal communication from Berkshire Hathaway. So I'll give you the short of it here, and kind of what they said is that the DOJ states as long as sellers can make buyer-broker commission offers, they will continue to offer customary commissions out of fear that buyer-brokers will direct buyers away from listings with lower commissions. And we'll document a phenomenon known as steering. And this is in the DOJ's filing, by the way. The DOJ, the solution, according to them, is to formally decouple commissions paid by buyers and sellers and prohibit sellers and listing brokers from even being allowed to offer cooperating commissions to buyer brokers. To support their theory of steering among buyers brokers, the DOJ points to the Northwest MLS. In 2019, the Northwest MLS amended its rules to allow sellers to decline to make any offer of cooperating commissions. Since that time, a significant percentage of sellers chose to make market rate offers to buyer brokers. The DOJ interprets this as evidence of the sellers being compelled to make offers to avoid the threat of steering. So then they acknowledge that not all buyers are going to be able to afford to pay their agents in a decoupled model, and proposes buyers could simply request sellers to pay all or a portion of the commission in the purchase offer submitted to the seller. So I think that could be something that happens. There's going to have to be some laws that change, right? Like you're going to have to see, one, can they get like a seller's assist to finance that? Is that going to be okay? Because a lot of these people don't have the cash to do it. Secondly, if they don't allow that, well, guess what's going to happen? They're going to pay less for the house so they can pay for the commission, or you're going to see more deals fall apart. There's a lot of things this could do to the economy, which I don't think people realize. Housing makes up 17% of the GDP. So here's what Berkshire Hathaway said. This is only an objection filed with the court in the Nozelek case, and it's not a ruling or legal mechanism decoupling commissions in real estate transactions. We're going to continue to monitor this and keep you updated on all developments. So that's definitely going to be the approach here by anybody. It's no different than these appeals, but this is a bigger deal than these commission lawsuits. And if the DOJ sticks their nose in and says, hey, you can't do this, if we're thinking this isn't going to impact the economy, I mean, forget real estate agents. I'm actually not worried about this as a real estate agent, because there's going to be people that want this service. It's no different than TurboTax and LegalZoom versus doing your own taxes and or versus getting an accountant to do your taxes and getting an attorney to go to court. Like I'm not, I've got estate documents. I'm not messing with that stuff myself. Like next thing you know, something crazy happens, right? And so there's people that are going to choose to go that route no matter what happens here. The flip side is what agents need to get on notice with, and we've been talking about this for a while now. This isn't going away. You can't keep your head down. What needs to happen here is you need to know everything about this lawsuit and what's going on, and then be ready to handle any and all objections that come up, because the people that are ill-prepared are going to be the ones that get eaten alive. And I mean, to me, you've got to know everything about it. But then the flip side, and Ryan Serhant said this, do you guys have any like financial accounts, like retirement accounts or anything? Right? Do you read Barron's at all? Do you know what Barron's is? Right? So your financial advisor probably reads this all the time, right? Like it's the Barron's guide. Like it's no different than us looking at Housing Wire and all this stuff. And they're probably worried about things happening in their industry that none of us have any idea about.
Right.
And then there's a component there. Now, if the DOJ forces this, it's a little different. But then there's a presentation that's got to happen. So, hey, here's how I get paid. I'm going to help you find a home. We're going to work in good faith. There's a contract here that says you're going to pay me X amount, whatever that is, based on the laws in your state. We have a buyer agency contract in Pennsylvania. It says when you buy a home, here's what the agent gets paid. And I'm going to try to negotiate that to get the seller to pay it.
Yeah.
But this is going to be due when we get you a house. And you want a house, right, Sarah and Eric, right? I mean, and that's – but that's really the point. But if you can't deliver that and sit there – it's no different than a listing contract. This is the same thing agents do all the time on the listing side. So that doesn't concern me so much. But the fact that there's going to be some people that just get nervous and throw their hands up in the air and think it's going to go away – and it's going to hurt buyers. I'm really concerned about buyers here, especially VA buyers, especially people that are strapped for cash. Affordability is already an issue. That's the bigger impact here that nobody's talking about, because in New York City, like, tenants have to pay their tenant agents to find them apartments. You guys know this, right? Mm-hmm. It's like a couple $1,000. You're renting a place. It's like super expensive. I had friends of mine call me and said, hey, is this normal? I'm like, I don't know anything about New York. You need to talk to the people up there. That's like a common practice. That's just for a rental.
Right.
That has no financial benefit for you. So, it costs people money, and it's painful, and that's what's going to happen here. And I don't think these decision makers realize the impact on the economy, and it might need to be made very clear to them, not just on like social media posts, but I mean, this might need to go to a level where people are getting in touch with their like representatives in D.C. to really explain, like, hey, there's a big negative impact here. You might want to rethink this before you start forcing the issue. But the industry existed when this happened before. We would have been long gone by now if there wasn't a need.
Right.
I think they're trying.
Well, for sure.
Well, I mean, I feel like the difference there too, because Tom, you had mentioned how like it's no different than, when you're at a listing consultation and like, presenting the commission piece there. And while it all still is, money is money and dollars are dollars, I think coming up with it versus having it come out. Now, while you may need as much as you can net from the sale of your house to get into the next one, and like everything may be down to the dollar still in that case, I feel like it's harder to like come up with it than to have it taken out.
I agree with you. I don't think there's any question there. Well, and you think about it. I mean, we talk about payments, right? If it's extra, couple dollars a month, sure, we'll do it that way. But then there's going to be some laws that have to change. I mean, you got to allow this on the settlement sheet. I'm already talking to a couple of our lenders right now. Hey, if this happens, can we roll that into a seller's assist as an option to pay it? Because there's going to be some people that just can't afford this on the buy side, and some sellers are going to. And like, here's the problem. There's going to be some agents out there. I bet it's already happening right now. Hey, Stacey, great news. We don't have to pay a buyer agent anymore, so we're going to take that off. I'm going to keep the whole thing. So the fee's X. We don't have to pay them, and like, there's no commission lawsuit against that behavior.
Right.
And we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but if we're going to be foolish to think that that's not happening right now.
Right.
Because we're already seeing zeros in the MLS. So, I mean, this isn't going away, and if you're not ready to deliver value, I think that's going to be the most important thing here. Like, what can you do for me, really, is going to be the question. Mm-hmm. So what do you do to explain value on your appointments? What do you two do?
Go through the process of what I do differently. That's what I do. There's no use talking about, what people are doing wrong or, what we see out there, but how can I help you best in what I do differently?
Right. I mean, I think, thoroughly explaining what the process looks like, what I do, where they step in, where other parts of the transaction, where they step in at, so that everybody's clear on what everyone does during the process. And, highlighting some of these things that we do without really thinking twice about it. But like, not everyone does that. And it is something that if they're not used to it, and this is, the one transaction that they're doing or the first transaction that they've done, pointing out even those like things that maybe aren't insanely time consuming from us, or like, stuff that we just kind of do, like highlight that because they don't know, So bringing attention to all of the things that we do during the scope of hunting, getting under contract, and getting to settlement.
What you said there is so important, because I'm clear, like, we take some things for granted of like the things that we do. And I mean, we've had multiple trainings around this. We're putting it into our presentation now. Like, hey, most agents are going to have what I call a 3-point plan. They meet you once, they talk to you on the phone, one of the two. They put you on a property drip, and then they wait for you to tell them what you like, and that's it. That's their whole search process. So clearly, is that aggressive enough for you? You ask the question, you go through it. But when you can lay out, hey, here's how I'm going to search for homes. Here's how we can target off-market properties, which I know both of you have brought off-market properties to your clients, right? And like that goes a long way. even if it doesn't pan out, here's how we can negotiate. Here's a 10-point plan to get your offer accepted. Like all these different things, most people don't know, and agents are horrible at communicating, and they took it for granted because they felt entitled to a fee. Those days are gone. So to me, that's going to be the skill set that's probably the most important here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I think going through also for, when you're explaining how you actually structure offers, like people tend to think it's just like dollars and or what inspections are doing what, but kind of explaining that it really is more like a jigsaw puzzle, and like you have to be putting the pieces in the right places to ultimately get to get it done. So making them aware that there are many different things that can go into how you structure something that can be the difference between you getting the home or you being like number 2 or number 3 on the offers. And like, it doesn't matter if you were second best, because like there is no second place prize here. You either get the house or you don't.
Yes, well said.
So being like almost there is almost worse than getting it, because it's just like if we had tweaked these couple little things, maybe it could have been us. So just kind of pointing that out so that they know that there is a lot that you can do to structure things.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just competing on price.
Right.
There's a lot of the terms. You know, inspections. What can you do? Okay, you want your inspections. Let's see. Let's get creative on how we can get you comfortable, but also satisfy that, inspection contingency where the seller's going to look for no contingency.
Right.
How about instead of focusing on purchase price, maybe consider offering to pay the seller's 1% transfer tax, if they have the means.
Yeah.
That's another way to strengthen an offer. That was one of our key winning strategies this weekend to make the offer just a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
So clients don't know that there's these other things. They have no idea that you can negotiate these other terms and bolster the offer in different ways.
Yeah.
So I think that's super important. You have to know these strategies, first of all, and then you have to know when it's a good time to implement them.
Right. And making them aware prior to, like, this is the house that I have to get. Like, listen, I know this is going to be a lot of information for you. I don't expect you to retain all of it right now. But I'm going to go through a couple of different things that we can use as a strategy so that when they do find the house, that they're like, oh my gosh, yes, let's do it. And then it almost feels to them, I feel like if you didn't properly lay the groundwork for there's all these different things that we can do, that they're just getting like, and now offer your transfer tax, and now do this, and now do this. And it's like, what? But like, if you've already told them these are strategies in place, and if this is the house they really want, they may bring it up to you. Like, oh, this is one that, you know what I mean? So that it doesn't feel like they're being, not like beaten down, but just like, these are things to like enhance the offer. This isn't you like, giving things away. It's you enhancing your chance to get the house.
Well, it can be overwhelming, right?
Oh,
I mean, you think about
Very.
it for the layperson that doesn't do this, and you're in the heat of the moment. You finally find a house you like, and it's like, oh, one more thing. Well, that's bad preparation. That's bad coaching, and you don't hear like an attorney tell you, oh, by the way, here's the next motion we're going to run right now. I didn't tell you about it, and we're in front of the judge. Like that doesn't go that way. Or the auditors in your office, right, looking at your tax return, and there's not that, oh, here's what we're going to do next. It's like that's not what professionals do. And the last point here, and then we're going to take a break. We got DJ here. We want to talk about the mortgage rate climate with him, is that if you're not an agent focusing on listings right now, you've lost control in your business. And that's probably the most important thing, because when you take listings, you have control, right? And you're going to be able to walk folks through what the right thing to do here is. But if you're not focusing on that, I mean, you're crossing your fingers and hoping like this either doesn't get passed, and you're gonna like it's not a winning business plan to not be ready for, hey, I need to focus on listings right now.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We got DJ Sutera here with Mortgage America. We're going to talk about mortgage rates, what people should be prepared to do in the spring, how to get ready to go buy a home, and we'll take it from there. So we'll be right back on Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
You shouldn't have to deal with all the red tape when getting your mortgage from a big or online bank. At Mortgage America, we have access to big bank money, but with the personalized and detailed service of a local bank. We are here in your community and ready to serve with fast settlements, low down payment options, and first-time homebuyer programs. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. For more information, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000.
Mortgage America is equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
I'm Tom Toole of the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line. If you're thinking of becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have a special offer for you. Our team did $165 million of volume in 2021, making us the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team nationally. Our agents love us because we offer them a successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable culture. Agents who've been with us for at least a year average 30-plus sales. Even our brand new agents average 17 to 24 sales a year. We offer proven systems and expert training. We help you set more appointments and sell more houses. Now here's the offer. If you don't have a real estate license yet, we offer real estate scholarships so you can get one for free. Check it out at realestatescholarshipprogram.com or visit the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline at tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com. Get more out of your real estate career, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
Mortgage America's equal housing lender, NMLS 128501.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line.
We've got special guest here, DJ Sutera from Mortgage America, one of our lending partners that we work with on a regular basis. DJ, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you having you here.
Thanks for having me.
Where should people get in touch with you? The website? What's the best way to go here?
Website, phone, DM. I'm on all socials as DJ Sutera or DJ Mortgage. You could just look me up, DJ like a disc jockey, Sutera, Sutera. All my stuff comes right up. I'm not hiding.
Okay, and it's mymortgageamerica.com is their website. So instead of, we've had you on the show a number of times, and instead of, we talk about the market and what's going on with rates constantly, Stacey and Sarah are going to ask you the questions they get from their clients, and we're going to hear them from the mortgage side instead of like the real estate perspective. So, ladies, I'm going to let you kind of take the lead here. Fire away at DJ. Let's see what the consumers want to know, and we can see how he's handling these things because he's in the arena every day. This guy's processing loans, helping people. We want to make sure that it's important that they know what's going on in the market as well.
Cool.
I guess one that I get a lot is I'm a first-time home buyer. I think that I have good credit. I think that I'm in a good position to buy a home, but I have no idea like where to start or what I can afford.
Yeah. Okay. We could
So
start
what
there.
documents do you request, or kind of what they would be required to bring up front to just get an idea?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Just like square one, right? What is pre-approval? Why is it important?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you're not going to buy the house in cash, that's why you talk to me, right? So when you do that, you're applying to a bank. I represent a lender for money. And when you're asking for money, we got to give reason to why we're going to give you money. Mm-hmm. And so the reason why we justify it is based on where you fall on the credit score spectrum, what your income is like compared to your debt, and what your savings is. And we've got programs to cover any which situation as long as you cover some minimums. Mm-hmm. And so we'll take care of you based on that. But the pulling behind the curtain is, we're looking at your credit. We're going to be collecting your pay stubs or however to make sense of your income, and your bank statements to see what kind of savings you're working with. Mm-hmm. So that's like square one, what I do. And that's like some of the first minutes of a conversation for me to help set expectations is you're coming to a bank to apply for money to buy a house. This is what we need to do and look at so that we know what kind of money you need, what kind of money we can give you, mm-hmm. and what kind of deal we can give you on the money. And
because ultimately we want you to pay us back.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to make sure you can.
Exactly. I'd fund every dream out there, but I don't know.
That didn't go well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So clients are always worried that they, like Sarah said before, I'm going to wait until I find the house to get my pre-approval because I don't want my credit to be dinged.
Mm-hmm.
So how far of a drop in credit can one expect when they apply or they go through the pre-approval process?
Sure.
Because I think they think it's going to be like 30 or 40 points. I don't know what they think it's going to be.
Totally.
That's a great question.
Yeah, there's a long answer and a short answer. So I'll start with the short, and then if we got time, I can go into the long. The short is it's not much, and you shouldn't make a big deal out of it, right? And I might sound biased even saying that, because ultimately that is what we want to do to make sure we're clear with you as a client. But it really is true. First off, you get a credit report, and any dings on your credit, any inquiries, are going to show on that report for just 4 months, right? This is a very temporary thing. And when we're doing this, there is a misconception with the majority of the public about what a mortgage inquiry will look like on your credit versus what any other kind of inquiry will look like. Ultimately, wherever you're seeing your scores, they're just trying to give you a number based off of the data that they have access to. But then every lender is going to weigh algorithmically the data in a credit report differently. And a mortgage inquiry is by far the least forgiving inquiry on your credit. So your scores are always going to look lower with a mortgage inquiry, and it will be different than if you have an auto inquiry and a credit card inquiry, or if it's just posted online as a standard checkup on your scores, like what you get with like a Discover card monthly when they show you your statement, or like Credit Karma or things like that. These platforms that are just showing you scores at any given time are just flatly trying to give you a score so you know about where you stand. But for a lender, we hold weight to different things on your credit report. And so that's why when someone knows their Credit Karma score, it's going to come in differently than a mortgage inquiry on the credit, just by nature of what that is. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
This comes up all the time. That's a great question.
It totally comes up.
So this, I'm sure, can vary. Like circumstances would make this change drastically, right? But if somebody knows that they've got some issues that they need to work through, or maybe from when they initially had the conversation with you, it comes to their attention that there are things that they need to work on. What kind of time frames, why can't I talk right now? Generally, do you need
it's been an hour.
to kind of give people time to get things done? Yeah,
it's kind of based off feel, and just from prior clients going through it. So, if it's really just paying down a balance on a credit card, I'm going to ask them, how long do you think it would take you to pay this down? Right? Yeah. Let's be realistic with your time and your savings, because no one knows your money in, money out better than you. So give me a realistic viewpoint of how long it would take you to pay this off or pay this down. So I'll work backwards from there, because when you have that paid off or down,
how long does it take to reflect?
It usually takes a month or two to reflect.
Okay.
So then I work backwards from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it. Yep. Yeah.
So like if you just like had the money, but for some reason didn't pay it off and still had the money to have to apply to, or like to put down for your monthly payment, and if they were able to just do it right then, you'd be looking at like 1 to 2 months for it to actually reflect. Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
So we had this question come up earlier. I don't want to do anything until I find the home. How much? And you guys are very responsive. Like, I want to give your entire organization a lot of credit. At least the people we work with, which are Kyle and Kevin. You're always getting back to people. This comes up all the time. I don't want to do anything. I know you two deal with it a lot. How do you navigate that? What are some of the things or some talking points you would caution a buyer against waiting until I found the house?
Sorry, I just noticed where the camera was facing. So when they give me that rebuttal, I usually say, look, if you're a W-2 worker with nothing else, no incomes or debts against you, no like business entities, no other properties or rental properties, then okay, you're pretty cookie cutter. So if you give me just some loose estimates, like what your income really is, if you have bonus commissions, whatever, and where your credit says you are on whatever platform you're looking at, I could run numbers. but it's not a pre-approval. It's everything's subject to change. And if you really want to take your search seriously, you want to have an idea of what budget you're trying to stay within, and your team, myself, the agent you're working with, does not have 100% certainty whether you can even buy a home. Mm-hmm. And if you want the full force of service with your agent, with your lender, and everyone working in tandem for you, you should give them 100% confidence that you can buy a home.
No, that's good.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise we're just going off faith. And how would you feel operating off of faith? I like to turn that on them sometimes. Nice. Depends how difficult they're being.
I also like that you're asking questions and not talking to people. I think that's like the key to any one of these relationships, because you're building trust. It's not like, hey, that you're wrong. Like, no one wants to hear that. It's hey, how would you feel if this happens? That's a really good way to present it.
Well, and I'm sure it also comes up a lot that somebody thinks that they're very cookie cutter, and like in their mind, like they're like, yeah, da da da, and then like once you get into the process, like all of a sudden all these other things come out. They're like, oh, I forgot about that, or like, oh yeah, that would be a factor here.
Exactly.
So it's not like it's always people trying to be like misleading. It's just like we need the full picture so that we can figure out the pieces that like either you're forgetting or that might need to be like buttoned up here so that we can present this in a nice little package. Which is in your best interest.
Totally.
Agreed.
Yep. I surprise people every day. It can be like these little things on your credit report that you just had no clue about, like a doctor copay that they just threw to collections because you didn't pay it within a couple months. Mm-hmm. It's been like these little things throughout my career that, it happens.
So we got a couple minutes left here. So we talk about rates, right? I mean, and do people ask you to predict the rates? Like, do they? Like,
yeah.
So how do you respond to that? Because I think that's a losing proposition personally. I know we've talked about that, but what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I always preference with there's no crystal ball. That's like the cliche. Anyone who tries to predict and then is wrong, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So I could say what a lot of analysts are predicting if I really want to try. Mm-hmm. And I can point to what the Federal Reserve has been thinking and saying over the last few months and how that might show going forward. That's how I answer that question. I'm reviewing economic reports and kind of just guessing at what could happen, but with a huge caveat.
Love it.
Could be wrong.
Very cool. All right, so we're gonna leave it there. You want to follow DJ? He's at DJ Sutera on Instagram. You can follow Sarah at Ty_Ty Time. You can follow Stacey at _2 Mitchko. You can follow me at Tom Toole 3RD. We're streaming live every week. If you got some value out of the show, make sure to subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Hit the bell for notifications, and if you want to schedule a call with our team, there's a link in the comments where these two ladies can help you navigate this confusing market. That's all we got this week on Tool Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.